We've all heard this quote, right? That comparison is the thief of joy. But what does that really mean? You can't always look at what other people are doing and then expect to get to where you want to get to. Getting inspiration, getting knowledge, learning, those are all good things. Those are great things, actually. We're going to need a roadmap to get to the goals that we set. But it gets to a point where it's like if you're just looking around and trying to figure out, like, how is so and so doing XYZ? And then continuing to do that with everyone you see, eventually you're going to get to a point where you're no longer even feeling driven to do what you set out to do. Instead, you're wondering about how you can ultimately, whether or not you say it, be the best consumer of whatever it is that person is doing, instead of actually working on the things that they're inspiring you to do. What that leads you to is then a repetitive cycle of actually not being productive. I feel like this is becoming evident in a few different areas of life, whether that's in myself or in others. I just want to draw some analogies to make this more real, more relatable to people who might not understand exactly. So if you're someone who is interested in a certain type of sport, like for example, let's say that you're running track. So you're in a race and you're a sprinter, right? So then you're in the 100 meters and you're in your own lane. A lot of times, these runners, these athletes, what they say in post-race interviews is, I was focused on my own lane. I was running my own race. What does that mean though? Because like, you all know whether or not you're saying it in an interview. If you're all lined up against each other to run a race, you can sense where someone else is, especially after you start running. Like you start running, but then you're like, okay, the person on my right is kind of getting ahead of me. They're taking their steps a bit faster than me. Person on my left might be a bit slower than me. I'm good. I don't have to worry about them, later on in the race because I'm already going to be going further and further away from them. But what happens is when you're competing neck and neck with someone like that person who started the race faster than you, and the two of you are getting closer and closer to the finish line, what you notice is that a lot of even professionals, like I was really surprised to see this. Just to pause for a second, the world record holder in the 400 meters, if you're someone who knows track and field, super disciplined person. I mean, to get a world record, you have to be super disciplined. So I was watching him in some of his recent races. He was running, and as he got towards the finish line, he was neck and neck with someone. Instead of running through the finish line, he would actually start to lean his whole body forward for the finish line when he was 10 meters away. So in those final steps where he could have gotten a faster time, what was he doing? Trying to reach his goal without doing it in the right way, without doing it the disciplined way, practicing all the things that he had been learning about training. And most athletes probably have done that in a race. It just goes to show that you have to constantly be on your game and constantly be working on implementing what it is that you're learning, what it is that you know you should do. You have to implement that towards what you're doing, not towards a reaction that you're creating because you sense someone else is catching up to you. You sense someone else's competition, because that's not going to help you to hit your optimal time. And it's not going to help you get to where you could be. It might look good to other people, but it doesn't help you get to where you know that you could be. And so to draw another analogy to this is to think about creating art. Whether you're an artist making paintings, a writer making novels, or writing novels rather, content creator on YouTube, making videos. If you get into the habit of looking at what other people are creating, whether or not you're inspired by it, whether or not it's beautiful to you, it can get to a point where you're just stuck in a cycle of chasing that inspirational feeling, I guess, that you get from looking at what other people do. What do other artists do? How do they choose their color palettes? How do they evoke certain emotions in their ideal audience, people who buy those paintings? What is it that they do that's so unique? Thinking about this from like a writer's perspective, you always want to study up on the latest diction, understand the changing norms of a language, understand story structure, how to have the beginning and the end, and keep an audience captivated. But a true novelist I'm not sure if that's the word. Those people are not constantly consuming to the point where they are not creating for themselves. And the same thing goes for YouTubers, right? Like there's tons of YouTubers who make these videos, oh, how to do XYZ on YouTube, how to blow up on YouTube, how to tell a story on YouTube, how to edit videos on YouTube. And you can get inspiration, get that initial foundational knowledge that you need from those videos. But where it becomes harmful is when you keep watching those over and over again from tons of different sources. And yes, it is important to find the right source, but like if you are constantly in that cycle of watching and watching, you just become another consumer. And I think what I've noticed is that a lot of people who are making this content on YouTube and really other social media platforms also, it's like, regardless of their IQ or academic prowess, the people who have the consistency to actually show up and create and share, these people have a different way of working, a different way of operating, a different mindset than those who just consume, consume, consume. When I think about getting caught in this cycle of watching what people are doing, I think about the emotional highs and lows. You see people who are doing great things and you think, oh, well, that person started out here. I started out a bit higher than them, so to speak, with a bit more resources, a bit more knowledge in a certain area. So I can probably get to here. And you think it's just like a linear thing, but no, you don't realize that at a certain point, that person decided to double down. Maybe in the middle, they decided to double down on what they're doing. So they're actually going to end up way up here. And you don't really realize that because you don't see what they're doing on the day to day. You just see what they put out, whether that's videos, writing books, creating artwork, even doing things that you might deem as silly. For example, if you're someone who views gamers as silly, but these gamers are the ones that are actually getting audiences to gravitate toward them, to resonate with a large amount of people is not something that comes easily to everyone. It might come easily to some people and they decide they're going to double down on that. They're going to use that as something that they can grow and build on. So then it's like, are you going to look at them and in a snooty way look down on them because they're doing what they feel called to do, what they feel led to do? Because at that point, then instead of putting that limited amount of energy that you have towards something that can help you reach your potential, you're deciding to take some of that energy and put it towards looking down and viewing someone negatively. What does that do to help you reach your goals? That goes especially for negative leading emotions, but also for positive. You're just going to glaze everyone who's doing better than you in a certain area. What is that doing for you? Oh, so they're great at carpentry. They're great at creating artwork. That's them. But what about you? What are you going to do about it? This whole inspiration thing is great. I think it's really cool to be able to see that people can do amazing things in so many different areas. But don't forget to work on what you want to work towards. Because if you're looking around at everyone else, you're going to get so distracted, so encouraged one day, discouraged the next, that you won't be able to really focus. Because energy is limited no matter what kind of human you are. Doesn't matter. We all have a limited amount of energy. We want to make sure that we maximize our energy and put it towards things that are going to help us and not put it towards things that are ultimately not going to serve us well. Focus on what it is that you want to do and put your energy toward it. Put the blinders on. Get dedicated time in your schedule to just focus on what you want to do. Focus on these goals and work at it and continue to work at it. No distractions. Don't listen to input. Don't listen to praise. Don't listen to criticism. Just focus on getting better, learning. That's all we can do as people is do this day in and day out. That's the only way we're going to get better. So I hope you can begin to do that today.